Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you very much. Now in today's video, I would like to make a comment finally on the Tiong-Alcohol issue with regards to whether it was wrong of him to actually allow the event that is co-sponsored by the government or part of the government's event with the industry of tourism in order to in the serving of alcohol to that event. Now, the question that I ask here is that would any other Malay leader say anything different than what Anwar has done in terms of him giving a stern warning to Tiong and to the Ministry of Tourism? Now, many Malaysians having the impression, Malaysians meaning liberal Malays and as well as non-Malays especially, see Anwar as taking a hardline Islamic stand, and they don't like it, and perhaps they think that he is not going to being a good prime minister for Malaysians at large. Now, the question I ask is that would any other Malay leader say anything different? First of all, we have to be realistic. If anybody is going to be a prime minister, it will definitely be a Malay. Now, of course, the constitution doesn't say that it shouldn't be a Malay. It does not have to be a Malay or a Muslim. But as I have written before, please deal with reality. Unless non-Malays have many children and can overpower or change the demography, then this is what's going to happen. Okay, that's the thing. Now, would any Malay leader, let's say Rafizi Ramli, would he say anything different in terms of what Anwar had done, in terms of giving a stern warning to Tiong and saying that serving alcohol is not permitted in any government event? Would Hamzah, if he becomes prime minister, would he be able to change, even though supported by Urimai, supported by Muda, supported by maybe PSM and whatever loose coalition that they have? Would he say? Would Muhyiddin Yassin have said anything different? Would Zahid Hamidi? So here is this question: would any other Malay leader, would Khairy, if by any stroke of miracle he becomes a prime minister, would he also be brave enough to say something different? Now, I will explain why the answer is definitely not. Because there are two things involved here: Islam as the religion, and Islam as a culture, and also Islam as a political force. Well, the two things is Islam as a religion and Islam as culture. But culture is driven more by the political side. And I will explain, first of all, my view about Islam and alcohol, how I treat situations of being in an event when there is alcohol, and also to contrast it with how Malays view alcohol culturally as part of a political Islam as well as a force in political culture. Now, with that regard, now I am a Muslim and I have been around alcohol quite a lot in the sense of people around me. Now, the first person that I was around with alcohol was my father. My father was a policeman, and with all policemen in those days, well, many of them drink. If you were to watch the P. Ramlee movies of 60s or so, you could see the actors in nightclubs, although it's not clear what they were drinking. But it is assumed that it would be alcohol, or else why would you be dressing like in a coat and tie and then going to a nightclub and having all these activities like the Western people? But my father then did not become drunk at home because my mother wouldn't allow it. And so when he was about to retire, or quite long before he retired, he stopped drinking and then started praying and also going to the mosque. So he gave up drinking altogether. But the fact remains that most military personnel, security personnel drink because, like my father, many of their commanders are uh, British officers. Now, secondly, when I was in the United States, I was there for 6 years doing my Bachelor's of Architecture and also Master's of Architecture. And I had Malay friends, and because they were away from the Malay culture, many of them drink. And I didn't drink, but I sat with them. Once I went to a nightclub and I drank Coca-Cola while the others, all the other Malay friends, they drank vodka, they drank beer, and they drank other alcohol, which I also don't know. And so I have no issues with them. They are still my friends until now, and all of them have retired from their private sectors, and all of them have gone to Mecca and became Hajj, and they have never followed that kind of life when they were back in Malaysia. Maybe some of them did, but most of them did not. Now, the third thing about me being around alcohol is because my alma mater is Huat Lian School, which is a Chinese school. And when I'm invited for gathering, sometimes with classmates and sometimes with 1,000-strong Huat Lian former students in Kuala Lumpur, I mean, alcohol was everywhere. And I am the only Malay in 1,000-strong population. So I didn't mind that because they were my friends. And I didn't think that they were bad because they drank alcohol. This is something that they do, part of their culture. And they're good to me, and I'm good to them. And I think that is how I have treated it. As a Muslim, I don't feel that people have to tiptoe around me as a Muslim. That's number one. Number two, as a Muslim, I don't feel obligated to drink, or I don't even feel any challenge for me to partake in any of this drinking. Although I've been invited many times, I said, no, it's okay, it's okay. And no need, I just smile and move on. Now, the fourth thing is that when I came back to Malaysia during the Reformasi, I began to mix with the civil society. Now, the civil society mostly consists of non-Malays, but there are also Malays who are what they say liberal-minded and not really following the Malay tradition that much or the Islamic tradition. And so, in some of the occasions, even the Malays drank. And again, I just watched and I just didn't make any judgment that they are bad or that they are, sinful and things like that, because that's not my business. I mean, it's them and God. And so I merely just drink my Coca-Cola again. And I didn't really succumb to any invitations to partake in the drinking. And so this is the situation. Then, of course, in my public talks, a lot of times I've been invited by mostly non-Malay audience, Rotary clubs, military clubs of non-Malays, veterans. And as I said, there are alcoholic drinks everywhere. And this is part of being Malaysian. This is how I look at it. Then, of course, I attended a wedding ceremony. Some important a Chinese person who means a lot to me, and again, in all the tables, even though there are more than one Malay, there are several other Malays, but generally they are non-Malays. The champagne bottle is right in the middle of the table, and people would drink, whoever wants to drink. So this is part of being Malaysian, number one. I don't mind it at all. Number two, I'm a Muslim, and my faith is strong enough to not really be part of it, but to accept it as part of the living together of different cultures. Islam forbid Muslims to drink. Islam did not say anything about everybody need to tiptoe in front of Muslim. That is up to the non-Muslim. If they If they think it's not nice to drink in front of me, then they would not have drank anything. But if they think it's okay, then it's okay, and then to me it's fine. I have no issues with that. So could I have also be a new prime minister and say something different than what Anwar Ibrahim had done with Tiong? From my perspective, certainly not. I would not say anything different. But would any Malay leader say anything different? Now that's the question. So I have explained now my position as a Muslim, and in Islam, Islam doesn't require other people to tiptoe around Muslim. Islam doesn't require that you stop drinking just because you're in front of me. It's just like in Ramadan. It doesn't mean that you also have to respect my not eating and things like that. No, it doesn't say that. That's why I understand it. Okay, so that is the part of Islam as far as I understand it. Now we come to the part of politics and culture. So with regard to politics and culture, once upon a time, as I said, most Malays drink. You could perhaps imply that from the Malay movies. As I said, it is very clear they've gone to the nightclubs, like P. Ramlee, my favorite actor, the best actor in the world. But whether they drink, we don't know, because it's not clear. And then we also see that during that time, did the politicians drink? Now, I don't know any politician at that time, and I only know from several sources. Number one, when I read Lee Kuan Yew's Singapore story, and he quotes meeting Malay politicians drinking and all that. And also, when I did research to the Parliament House, or Parliament building, and the officer in charge of the building before it was renovated said to me that at the top floor there used to be a bar. Okay, and a bar implies that there is alcohol. So the implication here is that he said that Tunku would entertain his guests there. And in the Singapore story also, Tunku would entertain many guests. There were talks of drinking and other things, which I would mention. And so it's quite safe to assume that Malay politicians drink during that time. Now, the way of thinking that Malay should be westernized is very common during the 60s and 70s until the Islamic reform came to the fore. When the Islamic reform came, then all this drinking disappeared. Nobody would dare to drink in public, although some Malays, like some of my politician friends, still do, and they admit it, and I've seen them, and it's fine. As I said, I don't judge them anything worse. I've seen people who don't drink, pray 5 times a day, can read the Quran, and they say worse thing. And I wouldn't trust these people, these Muslims who don't drink, because the way they look at other people is something which I disagree with. So with regard to political culture, Mahathir decided to Islamize UMNO by taking in Anwar Ibrahim, and then that is how he pacified the advancement of Parti Islam's Malaysia. And so he allowed the idea of Islamization of the government. Actually, penerapan nilai-nilai Islam was done, and this started the whole. People blame Anwar Ibrahim, but the fact of the matter is Mahathir agreed to that. So Mahathir was playing a politics of pacifying things until you get too important, like Anwar Ibrahim becoming too important, then you take him out. That is his political tactic. He's very good at it. And so that is how the Islamization came to the fore, and the idea of serving alcohol and drinks is prohibited. But I draw the line when the idea of having celebrations like Deepavali or Chinese New Year or Christmas at government offices, like what Nga Korming had done. I don't see there's any problem with that as long as there's no alcohol. So here we see that alcohol has become a cultural issue, but more a political issue. And we can see that Parti Islam Malaysia despite all their supporting slander in terms of having derma jihad and things like that, becomes a strong voice in terms of all this alcohol bashing and riding the wave of what you call conservative Islam. So it become a very strong political force. Now, the reason why Anwar had taken that situation of giving a stern warning to Tiong, which is a member of another political party, which is a big deal to Anwar Ibrahim as a leader of another political party. It should have been Abang Jo to have said something to that. But Abang Jo is a very careful politician and very shrewd one. So he let Anwar Ibrahim do the job. And so Anwar had to do the job. Because if he didn't do the job, then the Parti Islam for Malaysia would ride on it. So we see here that Islam or the alcohol issue is a very strong political issue. With regard to culture also, we see also the effect on the person from Petronas who had done the champagne thing with the after the Grand Prix race, and we can see that he also was chastised terribly. So here is another cultural issue which is already embedded in the Muslim society. Now, it's also very interesting to note that in one YouTube we can see Rafizi Ramli answering a question from the audience who is a non-Malay, saying that would you have said a different thing if you were the Prime Minister? So they think that Rafizi, not liking Anwar or enemy of Anwar now, would say something different. But Rafizi said to me essentially the same thing, even though they're pusing sana, pusing sini, masuk sana. He is also saying that it's a government event, you cannot have alcohol. He blamed Tiong for miscommunication and the sloppiness of his communication. So that is how he answered. So would he have said anything different? Would he have done anything different? No, he wouldn't have done so. Go and ask KJ, many people's favorite to be Prime Minister, he would do the same thing. Go and ask Said, the young man, would he have done a different thing? So this is something which is already a reality in Malaysia, and so it should be understood that it is not because there is no respect to the non-Malays in this regard, and also that there is no tactical solution to the idea of attracting tourism. You know, we need to attract people to come, but we do not need to sell our soul for it. And saying things like Thailand is very wonderful because they've got prostitution and also that, no, come on, please lah. Right? Let's not get there in terms of being so low in our morality. Thus, what I'm trying to say here is that in reality, Islam has become a cultural force and also a political force, not to anybody's fault. It has already been there. Cannot be blaming this and blaming that. You want to go into the blaming game? Well, we can do that, but it's already here, it's already there. And the fact of the matter is no Malay leader is going to say anything different than what Anwar had done. So this is not to justify what Anwar have said. It is something of what I have already said many times. It's a reality. Whether we like it or not, it's a reality. So we need to be very concerned and very clear on what are the things that we need to do as a Malaysian living with each other. The Malays have changed a lot since the 1970s. Maybe the non-Malays have not changed. Their way of life, their drinking ways maybe, and their aspects of what they consider moral, maybe it hasn't changed. So this is what has happened, and I think we need to understand that in a realistic manner. Thank you.